Here's a story. You catch your boyfriend smoking crack and immediately break up with him. He comes back a week later and burns your home to the ground. You call the cops and he goes on the run. A month later, he ties your best friend and her husband up, demanding your whereabouts. She brings him to your house and he stabs you both in the face. Trappin Anonymous.
What was the extent of your injuries?
I was in critical condition. I was in a coma for about a month. It took over 175 stitches to close my wounds inside and out. He sliced the base of my tongue. When he stabbed me here, the knife went clean through.
What's good? This is Trappin Anonymous. My name is Chris Styles. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for everybody just supporting us and keeping this movement moving. We deeply appreciate it. We have another show for you guys, and as always, just grateful for keeping us #1 in Black True Crime. Please hit me up on that Instagram, on that Twitter, at Chris Styles, at Trappin Anonymous. DM me with your story. I do reply. That's how we get all of our guests here. And just to start this testimonies and the healing process and everything that that has been birthed from this wonderful podcast. Do remember that the stories that you hear reflect real life. They're here to inform, educate, and hopefully keep your little homie off the streets. My name is Chris Styles. This is Trappin Anonymous. Let's get it. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
So, as always, we start with your name and why your story is important.
My name is Tamika. My story is important because I need to get it out there for people to hear, to understand, to know what's going on.
Bring me back to the day of the incident.
Me and Little went to New York to get away. We came back. I went home. She went home. When she got home, Rags was waiting for her. He had tied her boyfriend up, tied her daughter up. When she walked through the door, he jumped on her, took the knife and told her that she needed to take him around a corner to me. He put the knife to her side and made her and Antoine walk around a corner to bring me outside.
Leaving the daughter still in the house.
Leaving the daughter in the house, still tied up. So when she gets to the door, I'm actually on my way outside the door. So when I open the door, I see her standing there. I was kind of puzzled because I know I just left her. So she looks at me, but the look that she's giving me is like something's wrong. You know, she's trying to like hint to me that, you know, something's wrong. And I look over and I see Rex standing there. So I already know that something's wrong because this man is already on the run. They looking for him. So he asked us, can he speak to me? I told him, well, we can talk right here. So I stepped down off the porch to talk to him. Little steps down behind me. So she stands off to the side. I stand there. Me and him are talking. He says, can we step off to the side and talk? And I said, no, we can stand right here and talk. And so he tells me, you know, he doesn't want these people in his business. So we need to stand right here. So I said, okay, you know, we step right here. So as soon as we step right here, everything changes. It's like a plot twist. He's like, oh, you went to New York to do this and do that, you know, and I'm like, no, I didn't. You know, I didn't go there to do what you said I was going to go do. He basically said I was going to go fuck somebody. And I'm like, no. So it gets to the point where he starts grabbing me. He's like almost 6 feet. I'm 5 foot tall. He starts grabbing me, and I think that he's choking me. So I start fighting him off. And then I I don't know. I felt something. And so now Little comes, she runs over, she jumps on him, she tells him to get off of me. So that's when it begins. All I hear is her yell, and I hear like a tear. And I look up and I see that he sliced her face. So now she falls to the ground. And he has me, and he's punching and he's punching and he's punching. Well, at least I think he's punching. But the whole time he's stabbing me. So Little gets up, jumps on him again. This time he puts us in the headlock. So now we're in the headlock. And she's looking at me, I'm looking at her. And she's like, we gotta do something. So I said, Little, we gotta do something. What we gonna do? Because at this point, he has both of us. So I'm like, what are we gonna do to, get away from it? So I come up with an idea. I told her, I said, well, I'm gonna bite his dick and you run. That's the only thing I could come up with to get us out of that situation. Meanwhile, she's looking at me and she's giving me this funny look. So I asked her, I said, am I okay? What's wrong? Do I look okay? And she said, yeah, you look fine. But the look on her face was saying something else because there was tears coming down her face. And I said, are you sure? And she goes, yeah, you're fine. So my face felt kind of tight. So I went to go wipe my forehead. I wiped my forehead. And when I wiped my forehead, it was blood all over my hands. So I wiped it again. And this time my finger went in my forehead. So I told Little, I said, okay, so on the count of 3, I'm going to bite him. You're going to run inside the house. So that's what we did. She made it to the house. He chased her to the house. She made it to the house. She jumped up on the porch and went in. And she went in and told my grandma what was going on outside. So my grandma, who's very religious, she just grabbed her rosaries and started praying and dialed 911.
And what are you doing at this time?
I'm actually balled up on the ground because I see him. He chased her, and I see him. He's coming back for me. Once she made it in the house, he jumped down off the porch, and he started chasing me. And I heard a voice that told me to lay down and balled up. And that's what I did. I laid down and I balled up on the ground. And he ran up and he just started kicking me and punching me, kicking me, calling me bitch, kicking me bitch, bitch. And then he only took off running because a neighbor came out, heard the ruckus, and the neighbor came outside.
And she said what?
He said, hey, get off of her. And he knew me. So he said, Meek, you all right? And he said, oh, man. And, he chased them.
Wow. What is going through your mind?
I was terrified. I was really terrified. I felt death. I felt death. I was dying, and I felt it.
What did it feel like?
It was, it was a very eerie feeling. Like it was like everything was getting black. I was really struggling to stay alive at that point.
If you could show the camera or show us where your scars are from the stab wounds.
So I have a stab wound here. I have a stab wound here. I have a stab wound here. I have a stab wound here.
How many times did they say you were stabbed?
I want to say he said about 4 or 5 times, but they were in bad areas, especially this one. It actually cut an artery in my face, so I was actually dying because he hit an artery.
What was the extent of your injuries?
I was in critical condition for a while. I was in a coma for about a month. It took over 175 stitches to close my wounds inside and out. He sliced the base of my tongue. When he stabbed me here, the knife went clean through and it sliced the base of my tongue. So I had to have my tongue basically put back together. They had to reconstruct it at the bottom. I had to learn how to talk again. I had to do speech therapy. I ate. I could barely open my mouth. I had a problem with holding food in my mouth because of the extent of the injuries to my tongue. So I had to eat like pureed food and baby food for about 6 months.
What was it like waking up in the hospital bed? From what was a month later?
It was weird. It was weird because I didn't know. It felt like I went to sleep. It felt like I had went to sleep like the night before, and I just woke up. But in actuality, that's not what it was. So it was just like I was looking around and everybody was crying and clapping, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And that's when I found out that I was in a coma for a month.
Did you remember what had happened, or it didn't even cross your mind?
No, I remember. I remember what happened. I remember everything that happened.